For this gazebo exercise, we are following this tutorial from Maya Getting Started Guide. We're going to do lesson 2, 3, 4. So lesson 2, using primitive object to model 3D form is a great place to continue learning about Maya. Okay, so we're going to be creating basic primitive in here using cylinders. And then after that, we're going to be creating more cylinders. We will create grouping, we'll create duplication and things like that. So in this lesson, you begin to construct a classic temple using the primitive object creation tools in Maya. So it's not very complex and provide you with experience using some of the important object manipulation and viewing tools. Alright, so in this lesson, you learn how to create 3D primitive objects. Select object for manipulation and editing purpose, move and rotate objects, move, rotate, and scale objects, and duplicate objects. Okay, let's continue. So we'll start out by creating a new scene, and that's by going to File, New Scenes, then go to Primitive Objects. So primitive objects can be used as a starting point for a wide variety of shapes and form. So in here, you're going to start creating the polygonal cylinder for the base. Now, please go ahead and read through this tutorial. I've been doing this many times, so I know what is next step. So sometimes I just kind of skip the reading, but I would recommend you to read through them. So you're going to start out by creating the polygon menu set. Now, in Maya 2020, the polygon menu set is now under the modeling menu set. So we'll go to create polygon primitive, and we want to create the cylinder, and we're going to bring out the option box. We're going to change the radius to 10, height to 1, axis division to 8, and all this setting. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. So create polygon primitive cylinder option box, change the radius to 10, height to 1, axis division to 8, and the rest I want. And let's go ahead and create. Okay, so in the polygon primitive, in the polygon cylinder option and create, and the cylinder is about 20 units wide by 1 unit high, and you have 8 faced. Continue. So for this tutorial, it also has some interface introduction and things like that. So for example, we talk about you have this 4-view layout right here, perspective view layout, things like that. So I'm going to continue. So they want you to go to the 4-panel view. And now they say you can press the space bar by putting on top of, say, the side view. And now enlarge the view. Continue. Talk about the tab here is called the Toolbox Transformation Tool. So in here is introduce you to the Translate, Rotate, and Scale tool. You also talk about how you can check on the wireframe. Okay, so by default, if it's not in wireframe, it might be in a shading mode. So by pressing hotkey 5, you are in shading mode. By pressing hotkey 4, you are in wireframe mode. So here, they want you to move these objects above the ground. So if you go to the front view or side view, you can see this object is about half units below the ground. So we can translate. You can move it by arrow, by dragging on a Y arrow, or you can type it on translate Y to 0.5. Now they also want you to rotate 22.5 degree on y-axis, and the reason they want to do that, so if I type in rotation y for 22.5, you see that they wanted to align it, the geometry this way, so later on when they put the columns here, they can duplicate it with more of an even segment. So they just want to kind of align geometry first. So once we rotate it, we'll move to the next tab. Talk about the channel box. So with the channel box, you can choose to type in the value in here and type in the rotation value in here. All right, they want you to rename the cylinder primitive, so we can go ahead and go to polygon cylinder 1 in channel box. The channel box is this icon. If you don't see it, click on the icon and that will bring out the channel box. So they want to change to tempo base. So you can type in tempo base. And that's how you can rename the geometry. After that is done, then we'll move on to the next segment, which is duplicating object. So duplicating an existing object is a useful way to make an exact copy of it without having to start over. So when you duplicate an item, the copy take on the characteristic of the original. Using the duplicate tool, you can additionally apply transformation to the copy. So we want to select the geometry to duplicate in, let's see, they want to go to the foreview. Go to Edit, Duplicate Special, and then Option Box. So always reset a setting by going to Edit, Reset Setting. So in the Duplicate Special option window, if you don't know where I am right here. I kind of finished all the way to this point. Okay, so they want to leave the geometry type as copy, leave the parent node as the group under. So those two are default. So translate, they want, so think of the attribute is X, Y, Z. So X and Z are not changing. The Y is moving on 1 unit. That means this duplicate object is going to move up on Y for 1 unit. Nothing on rotation, but for the scale on X and Z axis, we're going to change that to 0.9 and 0.9. So select the geometry, edit, duplicate special, translate on Y for 1 unit. So it translates right here. Scale is 0.9 and X and Z are 0.9. Duplicate special. There we go. All right, let's continue. So this duplicate object is now has a name called tempo base 1 right here. Let's move on. So it tells you to save your work. You can go to File, Save Scene As, and you can save as, say, a tempo base as the beginning. Let's continue to move on to lesson 3. So it's lesson 3. In this lesson, we will let's see, understand the difference between moving object in the scene and moving the point of view in the scene. So use those camera control, rotate the object, use the transform tool. All right, so, and we're gonna do grouping exercise, and we're gonna practice going to wireframe and shaded modes. All right, let's see. So camera tool, talk about you have orthographic view, which is your front, side, and top. And you also have perspective view, which is the perspective view. There are different navigations such as daily and tumble and track. And you guys should know how to do that. So we talk about it on week 1. Let's move on. So here they want to create a column. The column are made up of multiple primitives that are move, scale, and rotate into position. So once the first column is created with each component name and accurately positioned, you will group and duplicate it to create others. So we're going to have capital, which is made out of cube, shaft is a cylinder, base is like partial spheres, pedestal is another cube. So to create a polygonal model, polygonal cube for the pedestal, from the main menu, create polygon primitive and option box. So in the option box, we will reset the setting first and then change the width, height, and depth. So let's go ahead and do that. Create polygon primitive cube, option box, change the width. So always reset the setting. So width, they want this to be 1.75, the height to be 0.6, and the depth to be 1.75. And let's go ahead and create. Now by default, these geometries are kind of hidden, so if you press hotkey 4, you can see the wireframe, and there it is. Okay, so let's see, in the side view, move the cube upwards on y-axis so it rests on top of the surface of the temple base. Or you can type in the translate value of 2.3. So either you want to move it up by hand, or you can type in 2.3 on translate y. All right, then they want to create a polygonal cylinder for the shaft. So to do that, they go to the cylinder, so create polygon primitive cylinder option box, always reset a setting. So they want to change the radius to 0.5, height to 6, and axis division to 12. And let's see, create. There it is. So in the polygon cylinder option, create, and in the side view, move the cylinder upward on y-axis so it rests on top of the column's pedestal. So we can probably rename this one to column pedestal. Okay. So then we're gonna take this shaft and then move it above. They did recommend the translate value to be 5.6. So if you want to be precise, you can do that. And if you want to name it, you can call this one column shaft. Okay. Then they want to duplicate the pedestal to create a capital. So with only the column pedestal selected, go to edit, duplicate. So select the capital selected. So go to edit, duplicate special option box. Always reset a setting. So they want to translate on x, y, z to 0, 6.6, and 0. So they are not changing, they are not moving on x or z, but they will be moving on y for 6.6. They want to scale it on x and z. So on x, they want to scale to point A, y at 1, z at point A, and duplicate special. There it is. Okay, so if you want to label this one column capital, there it is. Okay, now they're gonna create a half sphere. So in this case, they are using a half of the spheres to create the column base. Okay, so they want to use create. Null primitive spheres. So the option is say start at 0, start sweep angle at 0, end sweep angle at 180. That's what I want. Radius of 0.75, And section is 8, span is 4, and create. Okay, so now this geometry looks something like this. If I press 4, you know that is facing the wrong direction. So they say the spheres need to rotate 90 degrees and position on top. Okay, so they want to rotate the spheres around the x-axis for -90. And they want to move it above here. And they want to kind of scale down a little bit on y-axis. So press hotkey R for scale and scale it down on Y. There we go. And this is gonna be, they call it column base. Okay, so there is the column. Very good. Let's move on. So I'm at this step. Let's move on to, so viewing the object in the shading mode, you can go to the panel menu, shading, smooth shadow, or you can press hotkey 4 for wireframe, 5 for shading mode. Continue, they want to group the objects. When you need to move, scale, or rotate multiple objects along as one unit, it is easier if they have been grouped together so that they transform as one unit. Many primitive objects in Maya are group objects. So let's go ahead to group the object from the column. Select everything for the column and then go to edit group. And in a group, we're gonna go ahead and reset a setting and just leave it at default. So let's go ahead and do that. So select, if I maximize my front view, select everything for the column in the object mode, go to edit and group option box, always reset a setting and group. And you can see with this new group, it creates this new pivot point. So by default, the pivot point is at the origin. Let's continue the hypergraph. The hypergraph is a window that shows how the nodes and their connections are organized in your scene. You view objects hierarchy and dependencies in a hypergraph. So use the hypergraph to view that what happens when you group an object. So you can choose to go to Windows, General Editor, Hypergraph Hierarchy. And you can see this is the group that we have right here. Okay, so in a hypergraph, they want to change the group 1. So they want to, what do they want it to change to? They want it to change to column. So click on that, right mouse click, choose rename. We can call that column. There we go. Then they want to position the column on the temple base. So change the display of object to wireframe mode by tapping 4. And let's go ahead and go to the top view and then move the first column to the lower left-hand corner. So something like this one. Go to the top view, move the column to the lower left-hand corner in your top view. So after that is done, then you can duplicate it. So with the column still selected, go to Edit Duplicate Special, and we're just gonna create a duplicate copy, and then we're going to move it to the right. Okay, so we'll do that. So this is the group, and you can select the group by going to the hierarchy mode. So this is the hierarchy mode or the group mode. So let's maximize the top view, press hotkey 4. So I'm in a group mode. Did I accidentally rotate this? Yes, there it is. Okay, so I will select this group. Okay, make sure that's in a group mode. I select that column, move this column over here, Control D, Control D to duplicate, move it to the right. There we go. Something like this. So 2 columns in position. Let's move on. So the next one is selection mode and mask. It talks about if you're selecting geometry as object, you need to be in object mode. If you have group, then you need to select the hierarchy mode. So please read through this one. This is very important when you want to select it as a group. Pivot points. A pivot point is a specific position in 3D space that is used as a reference for the transformation of objects. All objects, curved surface groups have pivot point. When you group objects in Maya, a new node called a parent node is created for the group of objects. The pivot point for the group's parent node is placed at the origin. This is useful if you later want to duplicate and rotate the object rapidly. So enter the column and column, insert column and column 1 are selected. We're going to do another group. And then in this one, we'll leave it at default. And then we're going to, so we know that this new group's pivot is at origin. So with that giant group we created, we're going to create another duplication. And then with this duplication, we're going to change the setting here on rotation for 90 degrees on Y, 3 more copy. So please watch me here. So I'm in a hierarchy mode, so I'm selecting both group. So both group are selected. I will create another group, reset the setting, group. So by default, the pivot's gonna be at the origin. That's fine. So there is that new pivot. Then we're gonna duplicate this one. So duplicate special, always reset the setting. So every time I create a duplicate, I want to rotate on Y for 90 degrees. I want to have 3 more copy because I already have 1. So I need to do 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, and duplicate special. There it is. There is our columns. Press hotkey 5 to see it shaded. Let's continue. So this is lesson 3. Let's move on to, I would recommend you to save a version, and let's move on to lesson 4. So in this lesson, you're going to work with components. And let's see, so you learn how to template the object in a scene, understand the difference between objects and components, edit object in their component level, assign a surface material, and access the attribute editor. Okay, so in here, when your scenes become complex, templating the display of some of the object in your scene allow you to more easily select only the object you want. So when you template the display of an object, its wireframe change to a gray color. The objects can still be seen, but not easily selected. So you can template the base columns by go to the side view with the status line selection mask set to hierarchy, select all the object in your scene. Then go to the main menu, select display, object display template. Okay, so this might be a little bit tricky to do. I am going to show you the easier way. Now, this is perfectly fine if you want to do it that way, okay? But I will show you another way of doing things. So I'm going to select every object in here. I will go to my layer editor, which is right here. Okay, so I can assign all these objects to, so create a new layer and assign selected objects like so. So everything is now assigned to this layer. By default, if this box is empty, this object is active. I can select and can do things with it. If I click on this box once, it's going to get into the template mode. Now, this is similar to what a book is asking you, but I found it to do it in a layer, it's going to be so much easier instead of trying to doing what a book is saying. So this is what I would recommend you if you want to do template mode. Okay, so they want to continue to finish the tempo by creating a torus. So go to create, they're using NUR. So NUR primitive torus. And they changed let's reset the setting. So they changed the radius to 8.5 and the minor radius 0.5 and section is 24. I wonder where's the section. Number of section. Oh, there it is. 24. And create. There it is. Now keep in mind, if you're taking this to Unity Engine or Unreal Engine, you will need to convert your NUR geometry to polygon or just create a polygon to start with. Okay, so let's bring this NUR primitive object above the columns. Now if you have hard time seeing, go to your front view, side view, and you can just continue moving the object like so. Okay, or the book asks you to change the Y to 9.7, so I'm very close. Let's move on. So component. So all objects in Maya have a transform. Okay, so object in Maya has a transform and a shape node. Geometric shapes, like the primitive in this tutorial, has smallest part called components. A few examples of components in Maya are control vertices, faces, and holes. Components allow you to work with objects at a finer level and allow you to edit them in creative ways. In order to create the shape of this temperature beyond the basic scale of transformation, you need to modify its component information. So in the side view, we're going to right mouse click, hold on to the right mouse button, and the wireframe mode of this shape and select control vertex. And then once that is selected, they want you to drag the selection box around the top row of vertices, and then you can drag it up higher. So now it looks like almost like an egg shape. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll go to right mouse click, choose control vertex. Oh, if I'm in a hierarchy mode, I cannot see the component mode. So I need to go back to the object. One more time, right mouse click, choose control vertex, select the top control vertex, drag a box, and let's move it up to create this egg shape that the books are looking for. Now they want to create the roof of the temple. I think they are also going to do another half spheres. So let's do so by going back to the object mode. Create NUR primitive spheres. I will change this to 180 degree and radius is gonna be 8.75 and create. They want to rotate on X for -90 degree from the book. All right, let's go ahead and position this one like this. And they want to scale it down. So R, and scale this down like this. Now they want to untemplate the object. So if you follow the book, in order for you to go to untemplate, you will need to go to the hierarchy mode and then choose the template mode and then untemplate it. For me, I can just go to my layer editor and click on T and then click on R, and there we go. Now we get back to our default mode. So when there's nothing in this box, you are in an active mode. Let's continue. So at this point, you are kind of finished this temple in a way, or temple gazebo. So now they're going to introduce you to the attribute editor. So the attribute editor will display, okay. So the attribute editor provides information about the various nodes and attributes for the objects and materials in your scene, like the channel box. You can view and edit the basic transformation and many other keyable attributes. So the attribute editor will be, let me see, what icon would that be? This is tool setting, and this should be the attribute editor. Okay, so there's different attribute tabs. So if I select the geometry, you can see this is the attribute tabs right there. So this is, the book is just kind of show you what attribute editor is. Now you move on to the surface material. The color, shininess, and reflectivity attribute of an object are controlled by its surface material, sometimes referred to as a shader or shading model or shading material. Material attribute related to how the object simulates a natural reaction to light in Maya's 3D computer world. Maya assigns a default shading material to all objects when they are first created, which is number 1. That's why everything looks gray. In this section, you learn how to assign a new material to your object. To assign a new material to this template object, right mouse click the wireframe, and to enable and select object mode from the pop-up menu. So we can select the geometry as object mode. And this changes the selection aspect to object, so you can select object in the scene. Drag a selection box around all of the objects in your scene to select them. From the status line, select the rendering menu set using the menu selector. The main menu change to display the menu set for rendering. Okay, to make it easier, let me show you how to create a shader. Okay, so I think for the book, they are using the blend material and then assign everything with that. Okay, so to bring out a hyper shade, you can go to this icon here. It's that big blue ball here, and that will bring out a hyper shade. By default, everything get assigned to this number 1. We can create a blend material. In a blend material, under the color channel, choose the color channel. We can start out with this yellow color and then gradually turn into more of a goldish color like we have here. Maybe a little bit lighter, not too orangey. Okay. And then we can assign all this thing by this couple of ways you can do it. You can middle mouse drag. So one more time, select the material, hold on to the middle mouse button, drag and drop, and let go. Another way you can do is select everything, put your mouse on top of this material, hold on to the right mouse button, and choose assign material to selection. So at this point, you're pretty much done with this exercise. Let me show you guys how to do the rendering. Now, of course, you want to save your work, okay? But here, let me show you how to do a quick Maya software rendering. So by default, to render, you want to click on this clipboard. By default, Maya is using the auto render. Auto render is a little advanced. If you don't have lights in here, you're not going to be able to see it. So there are a couple ways to work around it. We can switch this to Maya software and then render this one. And there it is. Now we're going to talk about auto rendering. So if I feel at this point, there's already a lot of steps. I hate to throw into auto render to you, but if you don't mind to learn more about auto rendering, I can show you how to do that as well. But right now, here is your Maya software by going to the clipboard here, the second one, to render the scene and change to Maya software and then render it one more time by clicking on this icon. Now, you can save these images by going to File, Save Image. and you want to change this to JPEG. If you give me some weird format, the default format, I won't be able to open it, then I cannot grade you, okay? So make sure you change the format to JPEG, and you can call this one Gazebo 1, and then, so we can call this one, so call this one Gazebo. And then we can find a different camera angle, maybe something like this, and then render another shot. And I can call this one save image Gazebo 2. So then you will have 2 images that you can give it to me for the homework that is due next week. Now, if you are comfortable, you don't think this is too much, you can choose to create an Arnold rendering by going to Arnold, Light. We can do one quick way of doing it is Skydome Light. So I do Skydome Light right here. So that is creating a lighting. Then if you go to render it, you can choose to use Arnold render and render it with Arnold. So if you feel this is not too complicated and you want to use Arnold rendering, you can do that. Let me double check, make sure my geometry is sitting nicely. Okay, so one more time. So if you want to use Arnold, feel free to do so, but the same thing, go to File, Save Image, and you want to give me 2 shots as well. We're going to address more rendering for the following weeks, but this just kind of a quick overview on how to create a Maya software rendering.